Hey everybody, Spencer here before this week's video. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast, just skip ahead a few seconds. But I wanted to apologize for some kind of delay that happened in the video with our cameras. It wasn't happening during the recording. It happened only for a short period of time and we were able to fix it, but it seemed to just happen throughout most of the video. So I'm sorry about that. If you want to just listen to the audio version, go check out the podcast. But yeah, I just want to give a quick apology and say that we'll try to make sure that it doesn't happen next week.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Constructive Criticism Network. This network is here to help you improve at Magic the Gathering at every level. From Pauper Leagues to Top 1000 Mythic, we've got you covered. If you want to hear the entire network, head on over to our sponsor at PureMTGO.com, where you can hear each and every show, each and every week, and check out their sponsor, MTGO Traders, and tell them that the CCMTG Network sent you. Now sit back, enjoy the show. From YouTube, podcasts, and more, here's this week's episode from ConstructiveCriticism.com.
Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Mythic Cast. I'm your host Spencer. I'm joined by the Mythic Mikaela. Mikaela, you had your first preview card.
I did.
What was it? Tell the listeners.
Carfell Kennelmaster was my card. It's a 4 and a black zombie berserker 4/4, and when it enters the battlefield, up to 2 target creatures each get +1/+0 and gains indestructible until end of turn.
The card pushes through damage, and looking at berserkers in this set, they look like they're gonna be both aggressive and with all the things that berserkers attacking makes you draw cards or dying makes you draw a card. This card seems like it might be just a limited bomb.
Yeah, definitely seems like it could be certainly good, especially as more cards are revealed. I obviously the first time I looked at it was well before I saw any cards in the set, and other than some lands. So you never know what to expect because you could see a card like this and maybe aggro's not amazing in the draft format, but then maybe this is just what pushes that last bit of damage through, or makes it so that your opponent can't have good blocks and sets you up for a few turns later.
Yeah. I also like that it's it feels like this is a little bit pushed, right? Because I don't know, this feels like a 6-drop to me, and it being 1 black and 4, just I don't know, that seems strong to me. So
yeah, I agree.
Well, don't forget to check out our sponsor over at PureMTGO.com. If you're looking to get into the magical contents, you can write for them. You can record podcasts, videos, stuff like that. Check them out for that. But also there's some pretty cool creators on there that have been there for a long time. This entire network is on there, and we really appreciate their sponsorship. And their sponsor over at MTGO Traders. I know that a lot of people are actually selling out of Mana Traders. They're not doing Mana Traders anymore. They're trying to get into Magic Online again for real, because the economy seems to have stabilized. Ticks are selling for 80 to 85 cents, and people are pretty okay with the stability of the economy at this point. So if you're looking to buy into Magic Online, their sponsor at MTGO Traders is just absolutely the best way to do it. Let's talk about our Discord really quick. We have our Discord, our first Discord open happening February 27th, Mikaela, and you are eligible to play in that if you would like to. It is free, $250 cash prizes. It should be a really fun time. But that's not why you guys are here. We have our limited contest for this podcast going on in the Easy Game Media Discord. And we only have one entry right now, and that's Adrian with a Izzet deck in a flashback draft. And so if you want to enter the contest, you can enter as many times as you want, kind of just raffle at the end to get $20 to MTGO. At MTGO Traders, but we only got one entry right now. Halfway through the month, Adrian currently just looking like he's making $20 off of that's a good draft. So, Mikaela, it is time to say goodbye to Zendikar Rising. That is our main topic today. It's crazy that we've had this draft format for so long, and I'm not sick of it yet.
Yeah, I agree. Late September is when we started drafting this, and I did switch from best of 1 to best of 3, but I'm still enjoying it, still drafting different things, so I feel like some other formats you kind of get into, I always want to be drafting this deck, and I don't feel like I'm that way with this format.
There's most of the archetypes are fairly balanced in this set, and I'm excited to talk about it. I do want to introduce a weekly segment for the first time not really. If you're listening to this podcast and you're a fan of Limited Time Only, my old Limited podcast, you're actually going to be used to this segment, and we're going to be using it on this for Constructed, for Limited. We're going to talk about our biggest movers. And this segment, we talk about the things that move the most for us, whether it's decks up and down a tier list, whether it's specific cards in a limited format. And today I want to talk about our biggest movers in Zendikar Rising as our first segment as we say goodbye. And can I ask, was mine yours until you saw mine?
I think if I had looked at it, it would have been. And I had already seen yours at that point. I'm like, I gotta choose something different. But I'm guessing it's a pretty universal one that you've chosen.
Yeah, mine. I'll go first. Mine is Packwork Beast. And it's funny because like I don't know that like Packwork Beast was like low for me to start. Like I'm the type of person that's like usually pretty happy to play medium creatures that help my deck synergies come together. I think that in this set, just because of the ally mechanic, it just became, oh, I'm just always happy to have this. I really need it because you need turn 2 creatures to really enable your ally stuff. And I think that as somebody who already likes this stuff, that doesn't bug me. But I think it took people a little while to catch on to the point where I heard people were first picking this card, and that seems crazy to me.
I know when I've been doing drafts, I don't really see the card late. Usually I feel like it's gone within the first 5 picks is what I've been noticing. So yeah, people are picking it pretty high. I know when I first looked at the card, I'm thinking artifact creature, 2-drop, it's a 2/1. It does have some mana fixing text on it, but kind of at a cost. So I don't know how good is this really, but yeah, once you started realizing how much party actually matters, and even just having like 2 party creatures can really make some of your other cards a lot better. This card got a lot better on my list.
Yeah, I think that it was really important that the card also cost 2 mana specifically because the so many of the party cards need you to already have party stuff in play. And so this just being able to just be the enabler for the rest of your party cards was really important. So that was my biggest mover. Even though I liked the card, it definitely was the biggest mover up in this entire format for me. What you have an interesting one for your biggest mover, Mikaela.
Yeah, so I actually went with Kazandu Nectarpot. And so 1 and a green, 1/3, landfall whenever a land enters battlefield, your control, you gain 1 life. So the reason I chose this one is I know, especially in best of 1, you kind of the decks get a little bit more aggressive, and this was kind of a necessary 2-drop in a lot of your green decks to have. It blocks a lot of the other 2-drops very well. The life gain from the landfall is very relevant to have. So I think it's a card that initially I was never interested in picking at the beginning of the format, and then you start realizing how it can fit into your deck.
That 1/3 body was surprisingly good in this format. I played more of this card than I expected also.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was just kind of a fine 2-drop to have, whether you were playing like blue-green kicker, or if you were unfortunate enough to be playing like green-black, or just held the ground better than I expected. There were games where I had 2 of these in play, and I would play a land, and I was like, looked at my hand and looked at the board state. I was like, this actually might be insurmountable for my opponent. Like, I might actually gain 15 life this game.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous. Also, don't hit on green-black too much. I did trophy with green-black last week, so.
It's funny. I was texting Sam about this week's podcast that he did, mm-hmm. and I texted him and I said, I'm really excited for you to do green-black. I only have 1 trophy with green-black for what it's worth. And when I trophied with it, I actually made a tweet that I said, I think this archetype might be underrated. And then I tried to trophy with it a couple more times and couldn't. Anyway, I texted him and I said, I'm really excited to hear what you say about this deck. I have been having trouble winning with it. And he said, yeah, that's because it's really bad. It's not very good. And I said, oh, that makes sense. I'm having trouble winning with it. But he did a really good job of like breaking down. I don't know if you guys, if you're listening to this podcast, you should be listening to Sam Black's new podcast, Drafting Archetypes, on this network. It's really fun and a great way to help you understand individual archetypes in Limited. And he's done, I think, 5 episodes now, or 6 episodes now, 5 on specifically Zendikar Rising Archetype. So let's go on to the big part of the main topic. And I want to talk about, you know, we're in a weird place in Magic right now, Mikaela, because technically, in a lot of worlds, Zendikar Rising would just be over. Like, for most of Magic history, we'd come back to this one in, like, 3 years on Magic Online. But that won't be the case because of Arena. Like, Zendikar Rising will be on Arena probably for the next 6 months on and off, right? Like, yeah, so it feels like they usually do. Well, actually, the last 2 times they've done Premier Draft the new set and made best of 3 the previous set. Is that right? I'm trying to remember.
I think they've started doing best of 3 for the current set more often, and it's been best of 1 that's been rotating a lot.
Okay.
But I'm also not. I think it changes up quite a bit. So
Yeah,
keep track of.
yeah. So I don't think that this set, like, typically when, like, in the past when I've done these, like, goodbye sets, like, we're just actually saying goodbye for months. But I think that Zendikar Rising will be something that people still do for a couple more months. With that being said, though, the show probably won't visit ZNR very much for the foreseeable future. I think that, you know, if you're looking for ZNR content, there's tons of podcasts out there to listen to, and this one probably won't be covering it again for, you know, maybe we'll do it if, like, there's some flashback Premier League or event or something. But other than that, let's talk about just our memories of ZNR. And as I say goodbye to a set, I typically like to frame things in positive lights, Mikaela. Like, even things that I don't like, I like to see the good in them. And ZNR, that's really easy to do because ZNR was just really fun.
I agree.
So let's talk about some of our favorites. Let's start with our favorite comments. And you have my second favorite comment as your first favorite comment.
Yeah, you know, I went with Royal Eruption. The card's just good. I've first picked it a lot.
That was my first pick in all of this format.
Yeah, I'll splash the card.
Nice.
It's extremely good.
It's so funny. Like, my first draft in this set, I think, had 2 or 3 of them, and I was texting Wizards of the Coast employee Michael Hinderrocker about the card, and I just he's my former host on Constructive Criticism before he went to Wizards, and I just was telling, like, I was really impressed with, like, how balanced the card felt. Like, the costing was perfect. It felt really good in the format. I don't know. Royal Eruption kind of checks, like, all of the boxes for, like, a really fun. It's like the perfect common for a strong common. It puts you into a color because it's good removal. It scales. I don't know. I love everything about it.
Yeah, it's great. And, you know, sometimes it's a 7-mana lava axe, and it's still great.
Oh man, I killed so many people with a 7-mana lava axe in this format.
Yep.
Which color combination is your favorite Royal Eruption? Like, do you like green red? Do you like blue red? Where do you think you drafted it the most?
I mean, any deck that I was in red, but a lot of times when I was in red, I was actually in red white.
Oh, sure, that makes sense.
So it really shines there. But a card I was always happy to have in Wizards too.
It's funny because, like, it feels like the party deck didn't like some of the enchantment removal very much, but this card is, like, perfect for that deck because it scales really well. So that makes a ton of sense. I did not draft Red White Party very much. I only drafted it twice. Which
I blame chat. I blame Twitch chat for me drafting Red White so much.
They're just big fans.
I have one viewer who sees a bug catcher and is like, "You gotta take that bug catcher."
That's super. Yeah, my favorite common is Reclaim the Waste, and I think on this podcast I gave a anti shout out to the guys at Lords of Limited, or maybe I said it on Twitter, but oh my gosh, they ruined this for me. They I was either 2 or 3 weeks in, they did like a whole segment on this card and how undervalued it was, and I was like, why are you ruining this for me? I had 4 of them in my last 3 drafts. Like, I was drafting nothing but green-red kicker, black-green kicker. That was the deck I trophied with, was black-green kicker. That was a sick deck. You know, just, I had so many. I had a trophy deck that's in our Discord 3-color Reclaim the Waste, like Nissa. It was Sultai. It was sick. These guys ruined Reclaim the Waste for me. I was so mad when they like went off, talked about how great that card was, because I mean, this card got to replace your lands. Like you could actually just play less lands in this format because of this card. And also just was straight up divination for like both green red and blue green. Like, this card is just one of the best cards in your deck. You know, your landfall creatures love it. Your kicker mechanics, you know, it both has kicker and then also lets you kick cards late. This card was best lay of the land ever for limited. Just absolutely loved it.
I did not get draft that card nearly as much as you did.
Oh my gosh, it was probably my most drafted card. I don't even know that I passed one most of the time.
Well, I'm looking forward to that tweet of that screenshot when Wizard sends out the most drafted common.
Yeah, I will be shocked if it's not this. I will screenshot it. It'd be funny if it was some like, if it was like the 05, the kicker 05 that like becomes a 5/5. It's probably something like that. It's probably confirmation bias on my part. Well, let's move on to our favorite uncommons though, because my favorite uncommon really loves Reclaim the Waste, and that's a Vine Gecko. Vine Gecko's so fun. This card, this card is really interesting as it is technically a build around, but there were so many cards with kicker in this set that didn't feel like one. Like, it just felt like Vine Gecko was basically good in any green deck.
Yeah, it also reduces the cost of your kicker too, which I forget every single time I play that card.
Yeah, funnily enough, you can just play this and then Reclaim the Waste right after it. So you can do the same thing with... What was that? I
said, what some may call the dream.
Oh, it's my dream. This is what I dream about, Mikaela, is Vine Gecko and to Reclaim the Waste. I think Gnarlid also is one.
3 mana search 2 lands.
Hey, that's just green divination. I don't know what to tell you. No, I think that Vine Gecko just was my favorite color combination. I'm going to just give listeners context. My favorite deck to draft, almost always, is whatever blue-red is. Like, it's just my favorite color combination limited. My favorite constructed color combination is Teamer. And so, like, the fact that, you know, all 3 of those colors were good in this format, all 3 of those color combinations were good in this, like, I just love this. Like, I could just draft this all the time. Vine Geckos, you know, Royal Eruptions. This is my dream set, fam. Like, this is it. You know, there's no Bear's Companions, but, you know, you can't all be home runs. But Vine Gecko did a really good job of enabling your deck. And honestly, like, it's not that bad of a top deck in your kicker decks when you have, like, Reclaim the Wastes or Waste, like, I'm trying to remember the name of the kicker card that draws 2 or draws 3.
I know what you're talking about.
Anyway, like, when you have so many cards like that in your deck, Vine Gecko is not that bad of a top deck because you're going to be able to double spell those extra cards that you've drawn and things like that. I mean, if it's really late in the game, like, it's just a 2/2 and that kind of sucks, but I don't know. It was definitely my favorite uncommon to... I actually don't think I ever passed a Vine Gecko. Like,
wow. Impressive.
Yeah. I mean, also, like once, I mean, maybe I passed one in, like, pack 3 if I'm, like, black-red, but I definitely didn't see one within, like, the first 5 picks and pass it. It's just like, oh no, I'm doing this. This is the thing I want to do. So, what is your favorite uncommon?
Roosted Drakes.
Yeah, I definitely didn't pass one of those, but
great of luck with kicker decks overall, but they were still good and they were still a lot of fun to play. And yeah, like, if I got to build a deck around Roosted Drakes, I was always having a great time.
I think that's the card that I always wanted to open. Like, when you put in that gold for that draft on Arena, I'm like, come on, Roosted Drakes, let's go. It's not even that greedy. It's an uncommon. It's totally fair for me to ask for that.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know, you open your pack and you have, like, Inscription of Insight, but then you're sad that you don't have a Roosted Drakes. That's a realistic thing that happens, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because like, is Inscription of Insight even as good as Roost Drakes in this format?
I think it's significantly better than Roosted Drakes, but
I did trophy with an Insight deck. It had that Sultai deck. But it also had Nissa in it. Nissa is also surprisingly good in this format for what it's worth.
I do not recall ever playing this in this format, but I do recall playing against someone who had both the green inscription and the blue inscription,
Ooh.
and ways of recurring both of them over and over.
Oh man, they got a was it the green return a kicker card or was it the blue return an instant sorcery?
I think they had both, and then they kept
nice.
It was dirty.
That's a sick loop. That's
yeah.
Sick. Yeah, Rooster Drakes. It will be on my list shortly. Won't be on my list. We can talk more about Rooster Drakes. What was your favorite archetype to draft?
I think the red white aggro ended up being my favorite. I found it was open quite a bit, and it was something that was like very strong in best of one too. So yeah, it party mattered for it. So picking up those pack beasts was also important. Bug catchers, MVP of the deck, and those Royal Eruptions fit in quite nicely. And it's also a deck that really made the practice tactics work.
One of the things that I liked about red white specifically is for most of the format, people just were like really hard on black white, and you didn't need the same white creatures for the decks. And so because everybody else is trying to draft these white cards, like you could just get the red cards you needed for your party deck. I really, really appreciate that in draft. You know, I think that something that people sometimes miss in limited formats is that there is still a metagame, right? Like what people are listening to on limited resources and Lords of Limited, or what, you know, the top draft streamers are saying is good, that impacts what people take. And because so many people were so high on black white, I think it became easier to be that red white party deck in best of one and get really good red white commons that didn't fit into clerics.
Yeah, I would agree, because when you're drafting clerics, there's just a lot of the white commons that you just don't care about at all. And even some of the cleric commons, you wouldn't mind having them in red white, but you're not going to value the 2/2 that
what's the
has
one
lifelink.
Yeah, what's the 1/4 called? Like the Core Celebrant? Like,
yeah,
you'll play Core Celebrant in red white party, but you don't need Core Celebrant for red white party. Whereas that the cleric deck is like, yes, this is the best card in my deck, and that's a good spot to be.
I'm personally hoping I'm not playing Core Celebrant in my red white party deck.
Sure.
Something went wrong if that's happening, but yeah. And I noticed people pass red cards like Super Lake, like so many bug catchers. So many bug catchers. You know
what card? When I drafted Red White Party, I'm sure that I'm wrong about this because I've only drafted the deck a few times. I think it's the Warrior with Kicker that it gives it haste. That
okay, yeah, 4 mana.
Yeah, that card was surprisingly good when I played it in Red White. Did you have success with I actually have two questions actually. One, did you try Red White Warriors also, or was the party deck always better? I never drafted Red White Warriors. I just happened to have that Warrior in my party deck.
Yeah, the party deck always came to better or easier than the Warrior deck did. The Warrior deck was always fine, but when I had good Warrior decks, I got like 2 of the gold uncommon. Yeah. So, Ardent Electromancer is actually the card that I really liked in the party deck, because just on turn 3, being able to like get out 2 creatures is super powerful. And it happened a lot. The
3/3 wizard that lets you both draw a card also seemed really good in the red white deck, because like who cares if they draw a card? I have a 3/3 in play and I'm attacking you for a truck. So
yep. And again, you could kind of be going for that warrior deck, and a lot of those warrior cards still fit in perfectly with this party deck.
Yeah. Yeah. So my favorite archetype was blue green kicker, and it was not particularly close. I wanted to be like the red-green kicker landfall hybrid deck, but the blue-green kicker deck just does everything I want to do in Magic. Like, I gotta draw a bunch of cards. I got big fat creatures. I gotta slow the game down with like Into the Royals. And who doesn't just want, to win the game with a Roost of Drakes or recur a bunch of stuff with your kicker cards? It's just a good time.
I mean, every Magic player's dream is to attack with a million 2/2s in the air and draw 500 cards, right?
Yeah, exactly. I wanna kill my opponent with 2/2s right before I draw the last card in my deck. What else? What else do you want in the world? No. Also, the thing that I really like is I don't know that there was bad kicker cards for in blue green for the blue green kicker deck. Like, I was happy playing most of them. Obviously, like, the combat trick wasn't the best in this deck, but overall, I think that the deck came together, was fairly easy to put together, and I think was probably the second best. I do think the black white probably was the best deck in this format, but I think blue green kicker comes in at number 2, and I'd much rather do that than clerics. So, I'm happy to take the other tier 1 limited deck in this one. I'm gonna go into my favorite build around because we already talked about it, but it's Roost of Drakes. Like, I'm gonna be honest though, I don't know if I ever played a 1-mana Roost of Drakes.
Unless you had another Roost of Drakes. You do not play 1-mana Roost of Drakes.
I was never lucky. You had 2 Roost of Drakes in the draft?
I have had a double Roost of Drakes.
What? Seems so powerful.
I hadn't had a Roost of Drakes at all, and I just sent a lot of positive Roost of Drakes energy out into the universe, and they erupted.
Yeah, I never. There was, I don't remember if I was streaming it or not, but there was a game where I was like, am I supposed to play this Roost of Drakes on 1? And I was like, there's no way. Like you just get a free 2/2 later. There's just no way that I'm supposed to do this. It's funny because, like, I'm trying to think of a situation. Maybe if you can double spell with it, like maybe there's a turn where you can play Roost of Drakes on 1 and kick something else, and then it's like that's a reason to do it. But it never came up for me. So
yeah, rarely is the right call.
Let's see here. Yeah, I think that's it for me. What is your favorite build around?
I really like Soaring Thought Thief as a build around. Just being able to play that rogues deck was a lot of fun, and a card like Soaring Thought Thief I felt like was really necessary to make it work. So therefore, it was something you want to be taking early. Or maybe you had already picked up a couple rogues or were kind of vaguely in black blue, and somebody decided to pass it to you, like pick 3 or 4. But yeah, it's just very powerful in the rogues deck. 2 mana, 1/3 flyer, which is great. Can pump everything if you can get that mill going. And who doesn't like milling out your opponent?
I also really like it when, like, the uncommon, like the pillar uncommon, enables your deck strategy in a lot of ways. Like Roost of Drakes does that too for blue green kicker, but I think that specifically Soaring Thought Thief both tells you what you want to do and helps you do it in a really cool way. I don't know. I really, it sucks because, like, I have such negative feelings about this card from Construct. Blue Black Rogues is going to go down as my least favorite constructed deck of all time. Like, I actually just hate the deck. But I think that the deck in Limited is really cool and really fun. And I don't know. I agree. I think that when you get, I only drafted blue black twice for what it's worth, I think. But I had a double Soaring Thought Thief deck, and that deck was sweet. It was sweet. It was just everything you could ever want. If you start milling your opponent for 4 with 2 Soaring Thought Thieves in Limited, they're dead. Like, they cannot win.
Yeah, that's pretty ridiculous. Add a Rune Crab into that.
Oh yeah, let's go. I love it. What is your fondest draft memory?
There's so many. So this deck here got me a 3-0 in best of 3. And I drafted this deck, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm about to 0-3 this draft. Like, was not a fan. it was a deck that I picked up 2 Root Grazers, but I really didn't feel like I wanted to be in green-white
Sure.
ever in this format. And I had these 2 attended healers that are kind of confused because they don't have a whole lot of clerics working with them. Or, I mean, the Nectar Pot was a life gain way to turn on those healers. But the deck felt very confused on what it wanted to be doing in a lot of ways, and it didn't necessarily seem like what you wanted with like the 2 Root Grazers. Like, I wanted some fledglings and I didn't find them. I wanted something that was like some payoff for landfall, and I really didn't find a whole lot of that. Other than my mammoth, I do have the
Katsu
mammoth, yeah, and a Baloth. So the deck was surprisingly good and surprisingly fun to play, and especially with my sideboarding options, I was able to bring in Ox and really put some pressure on my opponents and get through for some big damage turns with some landfall on the Ox, and tapping things end of turn with Root Grazer was great. Few games where I had 2 Root Grazers in play, which was tons of fun. Tons and tons of fun.
You know, this deck also has probably my second biggest mover in this format, and I was just wrong about this card, which is Kite Sail. Like, that card giving flying, like, was so good in this format. I don't know, maybe the auto attach was just so much better than I expected. But just 1 mana, give your creature flying is busted.
Oh, the Kite Sail Clerk, I think it's a 1/1 flyer, and then
No, the equipment.
Oh, Oh, sorry, I have 2 things that say Kite Sail in the deck, and I was
you're
the
good.
first one.
You're good.
Yeah, that card has been super powerful, especially like on a card like Canopy Baloth. It's just
it's crazy.
Ridiculous.
I do not look at that card and think like half of my decks in this format are going to want this. So. No, that's it.
And any deck that you want to be attacking, or any deck that you think you're gonna like stall out with, you want this card.
Yeah. Do you prefer best of 3 or best of 1 in this format? I know some people have really started enjoying best of 1. I know, like, you know, Magic Boomers like myself and you typically are best of 3 drafters. Go ahead.
I've been significantly enjoying best of 3 better than best of 1 since switching.
I do think that this format gives, because of the nature of kicker and stuff like that, the format is better in best of 3. Like, it just makes you wonder why they don't just do best of 3 as the ladder, but whatever. It would take so long, though. Like, it would take so long to ladder if they did best of 3. It already takes so long on best of 1. I haven't hit Mythic ever in limited, Mikaela. I'll do like 5. I'll get like 5 trophies in a format, and I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna slow down. Like, I don't. It's fine.
My first time I hit limited Mythic, it was super fast, but I don't know. I got that Ixalan format down really fast, even though I hadn't played it before, and just kind of knew what to draft, and games went quick. But yeah, when you have like slower formats, it can be really painful. Like, I think Theros Beyond Death was kind of one that a lot of games I felt took a little bit longer, unless you're like me and drafting a million Pious Wayfarers.
My fondest draft memory, I think I did this on stream during the streamer event, the early access. But I think I had 3 Vine Geckos, 2 Gnarlids, 2 Reclaim the Waste, 2 Royal Eruptions, and I don't even care what the rest of the deck was. That deck was sweet. Instant trophy. That I don't know, like, there is something about it's funny because, like, what's the one where you like can pay 3 mana to put a 2/2 upside down and flip it? I'm trying to remember the name of the mechanic. Yeah, like morph, kicker, cycling. Like, I love these mechanics in limited. I think that every set should have them. Just ways to use your freaking mana make limited so much better. And I think that one of the really cool things about this format specifically is, you know, I would play 1 or 2 5-drops or 6-drops, but I didn't ever like have moments where I had to play a bunch of them to fill out my curve or to like have endgame stuff to do, because my kicker cards did that. And you know, that first draft that I did with green red kicker was, I was like, this format is for me. Like, this is what I want to do. and I don't know, I fell in love with it was my first draft, I think. It might have been my second or third. It was definitely during the event though. And I don't know, I instantly knew that I was gonna love ZNR. I had no questions about it. From landfall creatures to kicker to really aggressive party mechanics and drawing cards with my wizards, and I don't know, the format was really great, and that green red deck really kind of showed me that I was going to be in love with it. To wrap up though, Mikaela, let's say next year, so not while it comes back through right now, because we're going to be able to play ZNR if we want to for a little while, for both the next couple weeks and probably for a couple months after that. But next year, 2022, ZNR suddenly is available in Premier Draft or Best of 3. You gonna fire it off?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a format that I'm likely to remember what I'm doing, and it was a lot of fun. So it'd be fun to take a trip back, into the memories of the prior year's draft format for me.
Yeah, I might fire up I have not streamed Magic in months. I might stream just to draft ZNR again. Like that's how much I love this format. I'm with you all the way. That is going to do it for this week, Mikaela. People should like and sub, right? Like that's just a thing that they should do.
Yeah, I hear everyone tells you to like and sub, so you should do that.
Yeah. If you have the ability to like or sub, you should do so. Leave a comment. Let us know what you thought of ZNR if you're watching on YouTube. Leave us a review if you're listening on iTunes or Spotify or wherever. Mikaela and I, we love reviews. They bring us joy. So if you want to find me, you can do so at Spencer13H on Twitter. You can find the show at Arena Mythicast. Mikaela, though, people missed your preview stream if they didn't smash that follow button on Twitch. Where can they find that next time when you get your next awesome preview card?
It's true. I'm Mythic Mikaela on Twitch, and I'm also at Mythic Mikaela on Twitter.
Mikaela, I'm so glad we got to talk about ZNR together. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Thank you so much to the listeners for being here. I'm glad that we got to record on this fabulous Sunday. I got to go watch my son's Chiefs make their way to the Super Bowl. It sucks, Mikaela. I'm a Patriots fan. I tried very hard. One of my happiest memories is holding my son as the Patriots beat the Atlanta Falcons for a Super Bowl. And this little boy betrays me and falls in love with Patrick Mahomes. My wife tried hard too. She's a Seahawks fan. She tried to get into the Seahawks, but no. My son loves Patrick Mahomes. And we're going to go watch that. But I'm glad we got to record on this Sunday. We'll be back every week moving forward. I'm really excited for 2021 in this podcast, and I hope the listeners are too. We will see you guys all next week with a brand new episode of Mythicast.